On the evening of 24th of November 2009, a group of friends entered Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. It was supposed to be a familiar adventure underground. A narrow limestone cave, tight passages, crawls, squeezes. The kind of place that attracts people who are used to moving through the dark, slowly, carefully, and with trust in the people around them. But inside one of the cave's tight passages, one wrong turn became a trap no rescue team could simply pull him out of. A man named John Edward Jones became stuck upside down in a narrow passage. He was alive, he could speak. Rescuers reached him. A plan was made to lift him out. But the cave itself became part of the rescue. The angle was wrong. The rock was tight. The human body was working against gravity, and every hour made survival harder. This is the story of the Nutty Putty Cave accident. Nutty Putty Cave was located west of Utah Lake in the state of Utah. It was known for its warm, winding limestone passages and unusually tight crawls. For years, it had been visited by cavers, families, scouts, church groups, and adventure seekers. Some people treated it as an exciting beginner cave. Others knew that its narrow sections could become dangerous very quickly. The cave had a history of people getting stuck. Most were freed. But that history mattered, because a cave does not need to collapse to become deadly. Sometimes the danger is simply shape, direction, and distance. A passage can narrow just enough that the person entering it can no longer move forward, no longer reverse, and no longer expand their chest properly to breathe. On that November evening, John Jones was exploring the cave with family and friends. At one point, he entered a tight passage he believed was part of a known route, but he had gone into the wrong place. The passage sloped downward and narrowed. John moved deeper into the crawl, head first. Then he became wedged. His body was trapped at a steep downward angle. His head was lower than his feet. His chest was compressed by rock. His arms had limited movement. His position made it almost impossible for him to push himself back out. In a wide open space, rescue is about access. In a cave squeeze, rescue is about millimeters. Small movements matter. Rope angles matter. Breathing room matters. Panic matters. Fatigue matters. And when someone is upside down for hours, the body begins fighting a second emergency: circulation, swelling, pressure, and exhaustion. The first rescuers faced an immediate problem. John was not simply stuck in a tunnel. He was wedged in a narrow downward passage where rescuers could not easily get behind him, could not simply lift from above, and could not safely widen the rock quickly enough without risking more harm. They had to work in cramped conditions. They had to crawl through the cave carrying equipment. They had to communicate through narrow passages. They had to design a rescue system inside a space that was never designed for rescue. A pulley system was set up to try to pull John back up and out of the passage. For a time there was hope. The system began to lift him, but the forces involved were enormous, and the cave offered limited anchor points. Then part of the rescue system failed. A pulley anchor came loose. John slipped back into the trapped position. For the rescuers, this was devastating. They had come close enough to believe he might be freed, but the cave had taken away their best chance. The hours continued. Rescuers kept working. Doctors and emergency teams stayed involved. Family members waited. The situation had become a race against time, rock, and physiology. To understand why this accident became so difficult, picture the cave as a dark cutaway. A main passage leads into a narrower crawl. That crawl slopes down. The body enters head first. At first, movement is possible. Then the passage tightens around the chest and hips. The person cannot turn around. They cannot push with their legs effectively. They cannot pull with their arms. And because the head is lower than the body, every minute adds strain. This was not like being trapped behind rubble with a clear tunnel to dig through. It was a human body locked into the geometry of the cave. Rescuers considered options, but every option had risk. Pull too hard, and the person could be injured. Drill or break the rock, and vibration or falling debris could make things worse. Send more rescuers deeper, and they could become trapped too. Wait too long, and the body might not survive the position. By the time more than a day had passed, John's condition had worsened. He had been trapped for roughly 27 hours. Despite the effort of more than 100 rescuers and support personnel, he could not be brought out alive. John Edward Jones died inside Nutty Putty Cave. He was 26 years old. The rescue then became something even more painful. Recovering his body would have placed rescuers at extreme risk, and the decision was made not to attempt removal. The cave was permanently sealed. Nutty Putty Cave became John's final resting place. The tragedy left a deep mark on Utah's caving community, on rescuers, and on the people who had watched the effort unfold. It also became one of the clearest warnings about tight cave exploration. The lesson is not that every cave should be feared. The lesson is that underground risk is different from surface risk. In a cave, help may be close in distance but far in practical terms. A rescuer can be only meters away and still unable to reach the angle needed. A passage can look passable going in and become impossible coming out. A mistake that seems small on the surface can become absolute underground. Nutty Putty was not a disaster of fire, explosion, or collapse. It was a disaster of space, a passage too narrow, a body at the wrong angle, a rescue system with no easy geometry, and time moving in only one direction. John Jones entered the cave for an adventure. He became trapped in a place where determination, equipment, and courage were not enough to overcome the shape of the rock. For rescuers, the accident remains a reminder of the limits of rescue. For cavers, it remains a reminder that confidence underground must always be matched by caution. And for everyone watching from the surface, it shows how quickly an ordinary expedition can become a situation where every inch matters. This was Dead Reckoning,